Hello and welcome to Dice and Demons. I'm Emma, and in this video I want to show you how I paint a Solarix monster from Mammoth Factory. And full disclosure, Mammoth Factory gave me the STLs for this model as a part of their new Kickstarter. They are launching a Kickstarter today where you can get access to a whole bunch of their STL files. I think more than 130 minis are available there, and they have D&D adventure campaigns and maps and a hardcover book, all sorts of cool things. Now, I don't play tabletop RPGs, so I can't really do a review of that aspect of the Kickstarter, but I mean, to my eyes, it looks really cool. But I did get my hands on one of their models, and it was printed by a friend of mine. I don't have a 3D printer yet. But it was printed, and I have mixed feelings about 3D printed minis, just because often I don't think they feel a little fuzzy to me. But I have to say this model looked really good. My friend did say that perhaps the supports for the STL file could be a little bit could be improved upon, but I don't know anything about the technical aspects or anything at all. I just got the printed model, I cleaned it up a little bit, and then I primed it and I painted it. And I really think it looks cool. So if you're interested in this model or any of the other really cool models that Mammoth Factory makes, I think you should take a look at the Kickstarter, and of course I will leave a link to that in the show notes below. So I usually start out with a model that's been primed using the Wraithbone spray, but I wanted maximum brightness, so I actually went with the new GW spray White Scar, and I really like it. It was just really nice and smooth on the model. And I decided to paint the belly of the model using the Briar Queen Chill, one of the new contrast paints, and it went on really well, and I like that nice, very chill, frosty color tone that it gave. I've decided that this monster is sort of like an underworld, gloomy creature, so I wanted to go with mostly cool, or not ghostly, but kind of ghostly colors. So for the bigger parts of the scale here, I used again one of the new contrast paints. This one is called Croxical Scales, and it's actually a bit darker in real life than you can see here on the video. I sometimes have a little bit of trouble getting the lighting right on my video, so sorry about that. But it is Croxical Scales, and I also think that this model really works well with contrast paints, as you can just see all the nice little details on the scales. Then for the head, I also start out using the Croxical Scales just to get a nice transition from the scales on the back. And then I use the contrast paint Sigvald Burgundy and do sort of a quick wet blend between that and the Croxical Scales. When I had finished with that, actually, which I'm afraid I don't have on video, I dry brushed it a little bit on the head with just a white paint, and then I painted the edge of the sort of nose or the beak using a Doomfire Magenta, just because I thought it was a little bit too dark, and as you probably know if you've been following this channel, I like my models nice and bright. Then for the sort of main structure on the back of the model, I used another of the new contrast paints. This one is called Loxian Purple, and I'm really happy they made this purple paint, because in the old contrast range there wasn't really a decent purple paint, and this really does the job really well. So that's cool. And again, I like how this model seems to be almost made for contrast paints, because it just picks up a lot of the details really nicely. For the inside of the wings, I've decided to go with the same color scheme I used on the head of the model. So I used Sigvald Burgundy as sort of the darker color at the lower part of the wings, and then I used Doomfire Magenta on the upper parts of the wings. I really like the Doomfire Magenta. It's if you just look at it in the bottle, it looks sort of just red, but when you put it on a model, it's like a really nice, vibrant reddish pink color, and I think it goes together with the darker tones of the Sigvald Burgundy really well. So while I really like the overall look of the Briar Queen chill on the stomach here, I decided that I felt that these rounded individual scales needed a little bit more attention drawn to them. So I decided to paint a darker outline using Achillean green, which is also a contrast paint. I think the tone of that paint works really well with the Briar Queen chill. Then when I looked at the main, I decided that the purple was perhaps a bit too purple. So though I like the color, I just thought that I needed a little bit more to make it look cool. So I added a little bit of Talazar blue, also a contrast paint, just to the middle parts here. And I'm having a little bit of trouble with my camera, I'm sorry, so it's a little bit hard to see. Because the blue here looks like it's sort of shocking blue and overtaking the entire thing, which is not at all what it looked like in real life. So after having outlined the scales in the belly, I felt like the scales on sort of the side of the model needed a little bit of attention as well. So I made a dark outline using the black contrast paint, Black Templar. And it's a little bit stark, but I mean, it really makes the scales pop and gives a really sort of nice highlight effect when you're done. And I also decided to do like darker lines just to give a bit more texture to the inside of the wings here. But I did not use the black for this. I used, again, the Achillean green and also a little bit of Pterodon turquoise for the darkest parts. Then I started to highlight the scales on the side, and I started using a mixture of mood green, like a layer paint from Citadel, mood green and Croxigor scale, so it was sort of a darkish green. And I used that on quite a large part of the scales just to give them a nice greenish tone. And then on the edge of the scales, I highlighted it using the mood green on its own. I really love mood green. It's such a nice, vibrant green color. And once I was happy with that, and having done that all over the model, I mixed some green ink with a bit of neon yellow pigment from Green Stuff World, and I painted that on the very edge of the scales. And once I had done that all across the scales, I just gave just the edge of the scales a mixture of yellow ink and neon yellow pigment, so they really, pop. Then for the mane, I decided to go with a light blue highlight, and then once I was happy with that, I mixed in a little bit of white, and once I was happy with that, I just took a little bit of pure white. So as you can see, I ended up with something that was more blue than purple, but still with a purplish undertone, which I really like. And then I highlighted the scales in the belly. I mixed a bit of the Briar Queen chill with white first to get sort of a nice light gray tone. And then once I had highlighted all the scales using that, I went back over it just with a little bit of pure white. I don't want to go overboard. I don't want it to be like just really, really white and pale, but I still want it to be like really nice and sharp. Then for the inside of the wings, and this is also the colors I used on the head, I use some pigment. Again, this is a pink pigment from Green Stuff World, a purple pigment from Green Stuff World, and mixed with a bit of pink ink. And that's the first layer of highlights. And then I use just the pink ink mixed with a bit of pink pigment and a little bit of white. And then I just put in a little bit more white and a little bit more white until I get to some almost pure white highlights. And then for the absolute last layer of highlight, I use a bit of Flash Sketch Yellow, just because I think the look of the yellow just challenges the prettiness, so to speak, of the nice pink color scheme. And I like that look. I think that the yellow and orange and pink goes really well together. And here you can see the finished model. and it was great fun to paint. I have to say, I have never been. I don't think I've ever been as impressed with a 3D model, a 3D printed model, as I have with this one. This was really cool. And I didn't show how I painted the base, but the base came along with the model, so a nice sculpted rocky base, and then I just put in a little bit of grass tufts and stuff. So yeah, this was a very fun project, definitely, and I am. Yeah, I'm looking forward to my birthday. Perhaps I'll get, perhaps I'll get a 3D printer, because that would be really, really cool. So what do you think? Do you like? What do you think of the model? Do you know Mammoth Factory games? Do you like their models? And how about the color scheme? Is it cool? Not cool? Any other ideas for perhaps 3D sculpts I should know about? Please let me know in the comments below. And also, yeah, I couldn't help it. I had to take a picture of this under a UV light just because I'm silly. But yeah, when you use neon pigments, this is the result you get under a UV light, and I just think that's awesome. I think it's so much fun. But I'm a bit childish, so yeah, there you have it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you'll perhaps consider subscribing to my channel, or leaving a like or a comment. And remember, you can also follow me as Dyson Demons on Twitter and Instagram, and you can also join me on Facebook on the Dyson Demons showroom. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.